welcome aboard. The name of this class is called Let's Talk Gossip. And before everyone gets excited, no, I will not be talking gossip. And besides, who wants to hear gossip from a rabbi? Well, I mean, what am I going to tell you? I'm going to tell you what, like, Aaron's sons did in last week's Torah portion. But it's not exciting. I mean, it is very exciting, but it's not the gossip that people want to hear. So, the reason I called the class "Let's Talk Gossip" is because I wanted something that'll catch people's attention. If I call the class Torah portion, it's nice, but hey, it's not going to draw the same kind of attention. So welcome to the class, and let's talk gossip. Again, we're going to talk about the harmful effects of gossip on people, on families, on businesses, on communities, and we're not actually going to talk gossip. It was just a catchy title. So here's a little joke. Here's a little joke to get us started, because we have a tradition that when I start a class, we always start with a joke. So a rabbi, a priest, and a minister decide to go boating. And they're having a nice, jolly old time sitting out in nature, surrounded by the mountains, the trees, the birds, and whatnot. And suddenly, the priest says, guys, it's just us. And our congregation is not here. It's, hard for us to be ourselves and be comfortable. Why don't we each say something, about ourselves that we wouldn't tell anyone else in the world? So the priest says, sometimes when I'm doing the confessions and the people are pouring their hearts out to me, I don't really listen. I actually fall asleep. I take a little nap, but that's between, us clergy. No one else has to know about this. And the minister says, this is great. I'm so glad we're being open and communicating here. Let me tell you my issue. My issue is I have all these immoral thoughts, and I stand up there in all my robes and I look all holy, but between me and you, I got my challenges. I got these immoral, and he describes these thoughts that he has. They turn to the rabbi. They said, no, Rabbi, why don't you tell us one of your dark secrets? The rabbi says, I have two problems. Number one, I can't keep a secret. And number two, I just love to gossip. Anyway, so that's a joke to get us started. But it's unbelievable. Gossip is something that human beings just have a weakness for. Human beings just love a good gossip, a good juicy piece of lashon hara, as you say in evil speech in Hebrew, lashon hara. Human beings gravitate to gossip and to hear about other people's problems. Why is it? Why is it that we're so excited or curious to hear negative things about other people? What is the reason for this? Every good conversation starts with, like, did you hear about Shoshana's daughter? Everyone's quiet. Everyone listens. Yes. Or you could start a conversation by saying, guess who might be getting a divorce? And suddenly everyone's listening, right? Did you hear who went back to rehab? Ooh, tell me who? Everyone wants to know. We're so excited to hear bad stuff about people. Now, some people would say that it makes us feel better about ourselves when we hear bad things about other people. So psychologically, that's the reason why we gravitate to gossip. It's a multi-million, billion-dollar industry. There are magazines all about gossip of celebrities and politicians, and people are interested in this. It excites people. There's even a TV show, which I know nothing about, called Gossip Madel. Did I get that right? Gossip Madel? Something like that? But I haven't watched it. Don't know what it is. But someone put it out because it's exciting. So gossip excites people. And yet, Judaism and Jewish thought teaches us that just gossip is a really negative thing. And it's such a terrible thing that we'll read in some of the readings here that you could follow along. Again, you could print it up from your email, or you go to chabadac.com/gossip if you want to follow along. Jewish law and script and writings likens gossip to murder, literally. That if I say negative things about someone, it's akin, it's on the level somehow. Obviously, you're not physically murdering someone, but it's considered as detrimental as murder. And we're going to talk a little bit about why we make such a great, connection, or it seems like an exaggeration. How can gossip be like murder? So we'll talk about that in a moment as well. And also, what's the big deal if I say some gossip about someone? If it's just me and you and the other person's not here and no one ever tells the other person, what's the big deal? So we have a good time, we have a good schmooze, we talk about someone else, we enjoy ourselves, we laugh a little. The person never finds out, no big deal. Yet Jewish tradition calls this on the level of murder. Gossip kills 3 people. Okay, so these are some of the things we're going to talk about. So before we go and talk about gossip, or before we talk gossip, I'd like to share with you a little something about the Torah portion and make the connection. That's why we're talking about gossip today. And then we'll go back to exploring this a little further. So this week's Torah portion is Tazria and Mitzora. And the Torah portion speaks about something very peculiar. An ancient malady, an ancient skin disease or irritation called tsaras. Okay? What would someone call tsaras today?
Psoriasis.
What?
Psoriasis.
So here's the deal. It's not psoriasis, and it's not leprosy. It's tsaras. And the reason is if someone has this real tsaras that the Torah, the Bible talks about, you don't go see your rabbi. I once gave a class on tsaras, and someone called me the next day, Rabbi, I need to come over. I need you to look at something. I was like, whoa. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to see what. And if it was in ancient times, and it could have been really tsaras, you don't go to your rabbi. You don't go to your rabbi, and you don't go to your doctor. No amount of creams and no amount of potions or lotions are going to help you, because this is a spiritual disease, the Torah says. A physical ailment that's a result of something spiritual. So the doctor is not going to help you. He can be the best doctor in the world. He won't be able to help you with tsaras. Because for this, you need to deal with a spiritual expert. You need to deal with an individual that could help you spiritually. So it's an interesting concept. You did something wrong, spiritually wrong, and you have a breakout in the flesh. Something we don't have today. So this was called tsaras. All right. Why did a person get tsaras in ancient days? What was the cause? So the sages say, and you can read it in the text number 1 and number 2, the sages tell us that the reason why a person got tsaras is because they would spew lashon hara. They would talk gossip. And when they would talk gossip negatively about people, in ancient times, people would break out with this physical skin disease. The skin would turn a little bit white. Some of the hairs would turn white. It would become discolored. And how does one get healed from this? So you got to go to a Kohen. All right? I see we have a Kohen here. Bruce. Bruce is an expert. Welcome. So you go to your Kohen if you have this tsaras. He looks at it. If it's indeed tsaras, he puts you in quarantine for 7 days. All right? Anyone relating to quarantine today? Anyone know what it means to be alone for 7 days? Well, that's what you had to do in ancient times. You had to go away from the Israel encampment. You had to go outside of the community, spend some time alone for 7 days. You came back to the Kohen, and he saw, is it getting better? Is it getting worse? And if you were ready to get healed from this tsaras, he gave you this whole ritual. There was a sacrifice. There was this mixture of pieces of wood and plants and liquid and this whole thing that you did, and you became spiritually pure, and you would be able to go back to life. So this is what tsaras was. I bet some of us are thinking, wow, that's really great that we don't have tsaras anymore. Imagine every time we started talking gossip about someone or something, we would suddenly go home and look in the mirror. We're like, oh no, what happened? How did that happen? Right? So I guess it's a good thing we don't have tsaras. But actually, the Rabbi, Lubavitcher Rebbe has an interesting insight. He says, it's perhaps you could say it's not good that we don't have Harassed anymore, because what happens when someone has a symptom in a disease? Like, let's say you have a headache, right? So there's two ways you could treat the disease. One is you could go and take Tylenol. Headache goes away, you go on with your life. Anyone knows anything about more natural medicines? People who are on more natural medicines, they don't believe in treating the symptom. They believe that it's important to treat the actual disease or the source of the problem. If you just treat the symptom, you're right. So imagine someone was ill and they didn't even have any symptoms. That's something that becomes very frightening, right? We're dealing with that right now with COVID-19, right? They say 80% of people that have this virus have no symptoms. They're going around, they're shopping, they're living their day, and they're spreading this virus anywhere. Meanwhile, they got this deadly virus inside of them, and they have no idea that this virus is inside of them, right? That's terrible. Imagine, God forbid, a person didn't have a symptom and they had cancer. And they could go for a long time with no symptoms. And then when a person finds out, it could be very, very late. So symptoms are not a bad thing necessarily. It's a warning that there's a disease, there's an illness, there's a problem, and then we deal with the problem. So the Rebbe points out something interesting. So today we don't have tsaras today. So if I speak gossip, if I talk lashon hara about people, I feel good. I feel fine. So that's not necessarily a good thing, because obviously there's some kind of spiritual harm that's happening to me and the other person, of course. But to me, I'm a carrier of such negative information, and as a result, it's having a negative spiritual effect on my being, on my psyche, on my soul, on my character, on who I am. And because I don't feel anything, I just go on with my life. But the fact that people had tsaras back in the day, so that's in some ways it's a blessing, because a person knows, hey, look at this, something broke out of my skin. Oh, it's tsaras. Hold on, how am I behaving? How am I acting? Something wrong. I have to reevaluate myself. I have to reevaluate my life. So why don't we have tsaras today? So the Rebbe explains that once upon a time, people were more spiritual. So when they did something immoral, it had a physical repercussion. A person acted immorally, they acted wickedly, they acted in a harmful way. It had an effect on their soul, and the soul had an effect on the body, and you're able to see that. Today we don't have tsaras is because there's more of a disconnect.
You don't think, can I interrupt for a second? You don't think people get physically ill by doing something they know was so wrong?
Oh.
You don't think that still happens today?
Well, I think that's a great point that you're making. First of all, we believe absolutely that our activity affects us. And we believe in prayer, we believe in acts of charity. Positive things bring positive blessings to us. And yeah, negative things definitely bring negative things to us. And I think you're talking about something else. You're talking about a psychological feeling, right? That's what you're talking about. So I definitely think it exists, but apparently back in biblical times, people actually had an immediate, some sort of immediate reaction from speaking gossip. So, as horrible as that is, you look in the mirror and this stuff's covering your skin, and I'm sure it's not fun, and everyone's looking at you, and you have to explain yourself to people, and then you have to isolate yourself to people. But at least we know, hey, there's a problem, and guess what? I could fix this problem. Anyway, it's an interesting perspective on the whole concept of tsaras and the idea of punishments or whatnot. But going back to this idea that you quarantine, it makes a lot of sense. So a person has this gossip problem. They like to say negative things about people, to people. So would break out with tsaras. And what would the Kohen, the priest, say? The Kohen would say, now you have to go outside of the community. You have to spend 7 days in isolation, 7 days alone. Like I said, we're very much quarantined, many of us in our lives today. And that wasn't a bad thing. For 7 days, you look in the mirror, you look at your tsaras, and you also think about your life. You think about, like, what have I become? Who am I? Why do I get such enjoyment about talking negatively about other people? Why do I get excited about that? Why does that make me happy? And by thinking about that, we have the ability to become better and do, and do teshuvah. And as we do teshuvah, we start to heal, and we come back into society, and we're a better person. And just, this is off topic here, but I think very much connected to our quarantine that we're going through right now. Please God, this whole coronavirus should pass us, and we should go back to living life normal. But perhaps there's an opportunity here. We have a lot more time to ourselves, a lot more time alone. Maybe we could spend some of this time thinking about our lives, thinking about our behavior, thinking about our dreams, our hopes, our aspirations, asking ourselves, is this the life that I hope for? Is this the life that I dreamt of? What's holding me back from living life fully? This quarantine, just like the ancient biblical quarantine, in the times of Tsaras, we can learn a lesson from that. There is a silver lining. Someone shared with me today, every cloud has a silver lining, every silver lining has a cloud, but there's an opportunity for becoming a better person in this crisis of coronavirus as well. So in ancient times, a person spoke gossip, and they got saras as a result, and they were ostracized from the community for 7 days, and the Kohen finally lets them back in, and they begin the healing process. By the way, interesting. Who remembers the story of Exodus? You remember the story of Moshe going to Paro, to Pharaoh? Moses says, "Let my people go," right? And God sends him with a sign. What's the sign? Anyone remember?
Bring prune juice to let my people go after Pesach.
And that's a different sign. That's a different. What's the sign? No, the sign is two of them. One, take your staff to put on the ground, it will turn into a serpent, right? The other sign is take your hand, put it in your cloak or in your jacket, and you pull it out, and Moshe's hand turns white. And that was the sign that God sends Moshe. So the commentaries ask an interesting question. Moshe is supposed to show a miracle to Pharaoh, like some kind of miracle to show that he's real, right? Saras is a negative thing. Leprosy is a sign of speaking wickedly. So why does God give something negative as a sign for Moshe Rabbeinu? You would think this sign should be something more positive. I don't know. Moshe pulls a rainbow out of his pocket, pulls a bouquet of flowers out of his hat, a bunny rabbit. I mean, something nice, fluffy, something cute, something creative. But no, Moshe's first one is negative. There's this serpent. The serpent is a negative image in the Bible, in the Torah, right? Adam and Eve, the story. And then the hand turning white with saras. And the sages say something amazing. They say, Moshe, God was giving a sign to Moshe. You see, Moshe spoke negatively about the Jewish people. At the burning bush, God says, go to Pharaoh, tell him, let my people go. And what does Moshe say? Moshe says, Pharaoh will not listen to me. And he says, the Jewish people won't listen to me. They won't believe me. And God doesn't like that. Moshe, you're the leader. Moshe, you are the one that's supposed to inspire a nation. You cannot inspire a nation if you don't believe in them. You have to believe in them. You tell God, Moshe tells God, they won't believe me. They won't have faith. They won't go. Well, if you believe that about them, how are you going to inspire them to make the move and to leave Egypt? How are you going to convince Paro? How are you going to convince Pharaoh? So the sign of his hand turning white, covered in saras, was not so much a sign only to Pharaoh, but also a sign to Moshe himself. God is saying, don't speak negatively about my children. Don't speak negatively about the Jewish people. Not only don't speak negatively, don't think negatively. You've got to believe in these people if you're going to inspire them. So you see an interesting connection to the story of Exodus and Moshe, Moshe's hand turning white. The commentaries have some very strong words about gossip and its harmful negative effects. I'm going to take the text again. You can read along. I'm going to look at text number 3. The Midrash Tehillim says, evil talk is like an arrow. A person who unsheathes a sword can regret his intention and return it to its sheath. But an arrow cannot be retrieved. So these are ancient and wise words from King David. There are two kinds of weapons. There's the sword and there is the arrow. So the sword, a person could pull it out and raise it and want to harm someone, but at any point a person can stop and say, this is not right, I don't want to do it. But if someone shoots an arrow, once you leave go of that arrow, you're not in control anymore. It's going. And you have no idea the damage you could do. You could feel bad, you could feel regretful, you could wish you never did it. But once you leave go of that arrow, the damage is done. And the same thing is with gossip. When I say something negatively about another person, once it's out there, I can never bring it back. Once upon a time, gossip was limited to speech, to words. Today, we have the ability to gossip with technology, with videos, with text messages, with Facebook. We put a message out there, maybe even joking. Maybe we're angry, whatever the reason is. And once that information is out, there's no way, absolutely no way to stop it. It's going to spread like wildfire on a windy day. It's just going to continue to spread, and people are going to get hurt. People's lives are going to get damaged. You heard the expression, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never harm me, or words will never harm me, right? You heard that as a kid, I'm sure. But it's interesting. In some way, words can be more damaging than sticks and stones. Think about any major fight you know about. Think about any family feud. Think about any business that fell apart. Think about friendships that were broken. How often is it a result of someone hitting someone or punching someone or being physically rough with someone? It happens. I mean, there is physical abuse. There's horrible sexual abuse. That exists in the world. But most fights that we know about, most confrontations, most families that have been broken apart and shattered, most friendships that have ended in pain and loneliness is a result of words, of harmful, negative words that was said with bad intention, not with bad intention. But once those words went out, it's very, very hard to fix it. Once you break someone's heart, once you hurt someone's ego, once a person's pride is broken, it's very, very hard to repair it. Bones heal. Bones heal, takes a few weeks, a few months. A person could be running, playing basketball, sports again, no problem. Bones heal. But hearts are a lot more difficult to heal. All right, how often do you hear, I'll never go to that person's child's wedding. I'll never go to that person's simcha. Rabbi, I hear all the time, Rabbi, is so-and-so coming to shul? Why? Maybe, I don't know. Well, if so-and-so comes to shul, I can't be in the same room as so-and-so. Happening all the time. Why? Did someone beat you up? Did someone fight you? Did someone hurt you? No, they said something. Or they might have said something. Or I think they said something. But words are so powerful. And think about people whose lives have been broken because of words. Many people as children, someone, an adult figure or someone that's, or needing important in their life says one thing negative. Maybe they were irritated. Maybe they were tired. Maybe they were distracted. They said something horrible to a child. You're so stupid. You're so annoying. Something negative. A child is like wet cement. Those words get imprinted into the mind, the heart, the being of the child for years. Therapy can't even help a few words said out of annoyance at the wrong time. Years of therapy can't heal it. So no. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can murder. Words can destroy lives. Words are very, very powerful. They're not just words.
Can you hear me, Rabbi?
Yes.
Just a point of clarification. If somebody says something directly to somebody else, is that gossip? That by itself is not defined as gossip. That's going directly to the person. If you're being
So if
harmful.
I say something to someone negatively, right? Yes, you're right. And I guess I went a little off track here. I'm talking about the power of words.
Right.
Gossip generally is, like you said, when someone says something negative about someone else to someone else. That's what we're talking. That's gossip. But it's bigger than gossip. So negative words is actually bigger than gossip. So gossip is talking about other people, but the words lashon hara is wicked or evil language. That's what it actually means. So any kind of negative speech is harmful, and in some ways it's more harmful when I say something negative to someone else about someone else than if I say something to someone directly, because there's embarrassment. There's much more embarrassment. So yes, you make a very good point, and I thank you for bringing that up.
Pen is mightier than the sword.
Yes, welcome aboard, everyone. I'm going to mute everyone. You can unmute yourself.
Rabbi, can I ask one question?
Sure.
So I had this great impression of Moses, but about 3 minutes ago, you told me that his hand turned white because of a theory he did something bad.
Yeah.
We don't know if that's the truth or not. We have no idea.
Bruce, I thought you were going to say something else. I thought you were going to say, Rabbi, you're talking about gossip, and you just gossiped about Moshe.
Yeah, but what you did is you just said something about Moses that's totally a theory about his hand turning white because he did something bad. Isn't that, in essence, if I thought all these great things about Moses, this is the first time I heard that interpretation of the white is because he did something bad. And it could have just been another complete reason. So isn't that in theory a form of defaming Moses?
So it's interesting, in the Torah itself, you could say this is a book filled with gossip. I'm answering your question indirectly right now. So bear with me just for a minute, okay? So if you think about it, it's a book of gossip. In the Torah, we read about King David and what he did, and Moshe, he hit the rock, right? And clearly the Torah says that it's in the Torah that Moshe tells God, the Jewish people won't listen to me. So it's written in the book. How can we read the Torah? Is it a book of gossip or not? It's a great question.
Rabbi, I have a question.
Yeah.
Suppose the gossip leads to a good thing.
So hang in there, Ron. Hello, Ron. Good to see you. Hang in there. I'll try to address that in a moment. And by the way, the laws of gossip are there's a whole book. There are books written on what is lashon hara, what isn't lashon hara. I'll talk about it a little bit. This class is just general, but I'll try to answer your question in a minute. So Bruce, Jews answer a question with a question. That's what we do as Jewish people. We answer a question. Someone once asked the rabbi, how come every time someone asks a question, you answer with a question? And the rabbi looked at him and said, do I? So what's your answer to the Torah is the Torah a book of gossip or not?
Of course, but it's a lot of fact. I would assume it's all factual. But when you make an assumption, because it does not say that Moses was being punished directly with the white hand, it's a total theory. And when you come up with a theory that in defame somebody, it may fit a narrative, but it may not have been the reason God picked his hand to come out as white.
Right. Okay. So going back to the Torah being a book of gossip, the word Torah means hora, means lesson, and everything in the Torah Hashem wrote, and with the intention that we read it and we learn from it and we become inspired to become a better person from it. So it's an interesting discussion. Now, ultimately, your question is, that's an interesting theory. What's the source to it? So what I'm going to do is after this class, I'm going to find you the source, the commentary that talks about it, and let's look a little more careful to see where that source is. The source is most likely in the Midrash. The Midrash is part of the oral tradition, and at least the belief is that itself is part of the Torah, so it has the same authority to say the gossip that we talked about. Anyway, Ron was asking questions about gossip in general. What exactly is gossip? Ron, what was your question again?
My question was, suppose a gossip leads to a good thing. So, for example, I go and I say, listen, Moshe's getting a divorce from Sarah, and she's really taking him over the coals, and he's really in whatever it is. I say, listen, I know a really good lawyer who can really help him.
Okay, very good. So there's a few times that you talk about people, it's okay. By the way, not only bad things is considered gossip or lashon hara, even good things. It's also about how you say it. So like, guess who got a new car, right? I didn't say anything bad. He just got, guess who got a Porsche, right? I didn't say anything bad. I said he got a Porsche. That's great. No, but the way I said it was not for any reason. It was just to talk about people, and then there's inferences made, so on and so forth. So, but what about saying things negative for a positive? So there's a couple times that gossip is necessary, and it's not considered gossip or lashon hara. For example, if someone calls me up and says, Rabbi Rappaport, so-and-so applied for a job with me. I know you know him. This is an important job. I need to find the right person. Is this someone that's right for the job? We're not talking lashon hara now. Now we have a productive reason, and if I feel that someone could be hurt if I don't say everything I know, this is not lashon hara anymore. There's a productive reason for it. So
if you say, listen, don't hire him because he's a thief.
Not only that, I have to be careful how I say it. I can't exaggerate. I can't, but I need to inform, and it happens all the time, unfortunately, where people ask, I have to tell people things about people, and I have to be clear about certain things. I'll tell you where it's very common, when you talk to people about shidduchim. Matchmaker, make me a match, right? So someone says, I want to get a match for my daughter, for my son, you know so-and-so, tell me everything, right? So if there's information you're not supposed to hide it. You have to be careful how you say it. It has to be said properly. You have to choose careful words, make people aware. You don't have to go on and on. But you have to. So in a job interview, in trying to find a match for someone, trying to help someone. Yes, if someone calls me and says, Rabbi, so and so is having a serious drug problem. I think you should, he doesn't want to go to rehab. Go talk to him. They're not gossiping. There's a productive reason for the conversation. It's not considered lashon hara. Anyway, I don't want to continue talking about what is and isn't gossip. It's a very big discussion. This is a broader discussion. So let's go back to our text here. So interesting. The language is, in text number 5, it says that saras, hold on, I have to find the reading here. Okay. It says that when a person speaks lashon hara, when a person speaks evil about another person, 3 people are killed. The person who speaks says evil talk kills 3 people. Here it is. It's at the end of text number 3. Evil talk kills 3 people: the speaker, the listener, and the one who's spoken of. This is the Talmud Erechin 15a. So the word is killed. 3 people are killed. So obviously it's a spiritual killing, because no one dies when you speak lashon hara about them. But people can die. People can commit suicide. People can do horrible things to themselves if gossip goes out about it. So that's a possibility. But interesting. It says the one who's speaking gets killed, okay, or spiritually harmed, right? The one who listens So it's not only a sin to speak Lashon Hara, but to listen is just as serious of an offense. So someone comes to me and says, Rabbi, you want to hear about who's getting divorced? I don't want to hear. I'm obligated to do that. I don't want it. Don't tell me. It's an aveira, it's a sin for me to listen to you right now. I don't want to hear it. Okay. But then it says, the Talmud says, also the one who's spoken of, that person is also killed. Well, that's strange. So I guess you could answer yes, physically or emotionally, they're affected in a very negative way. You could say that. But spiritually, what happens if the person never finds out? What happens if we have a juicy conversation about so-and-so, about Yankel Shmendrik, right? And the person never finds out. So I get my sin, fine. You get your sin, all right. But Yankel Shmendrik, why should he get, killed? So here's an interesting idea. Speech is powerful. We, human beings, are the only ones that can speak. Yes, a parrot could make noises, but a parrot can't really talk. No, the only creature that speaks is our human beings. Why? The Torah, the good book, the Bible says in Genesis, God created Adam, man, in his image. How was the world created? If you go back to the beginning, it says, and God said, let there be light, and God said, let there be trees, let there be animals, and God said, let there be moon, sun, and stars. How does the world come into being? Through God's speech. God says things and things happen. Okay. The human being is different. God creates this lump of clay, Adam, and it's just earth. It's just clay, and he breathes into Adam's nostrils a living soul, and Adam comes to life. And so human beings are created in the likeness of God. God creates us through his breath. The breath comes from the essence, right? If I talk to you, it doesn't take a lot of effort. If I play the saxophone and I have to breathe very, very hard, after a few minutes, I could be exhausted. God forbid if I have to do CPR and I have to breathe into someone, it's coming from my kishkas, it's coming from inside, it's very difficult to do that. So human beings are created in God's image, and we come from God's essence. And we are the only ones that have the ability to speak. So we see from Genesis, from the beginning of creation, that words, especially when God says words, or anyone who's God-like says words, it's not just words, it's not just sound waves, but they are creations. The world is a series of words that came into, that become creations. So words are very powerful. My words and your words, human beings created in the image of God, we have a lot of power when we say something. This is in a spiritual sense. When we say something, we have a lot of power. Something's happening. We're creating something. Maybe not something we can see, but there is a creation. It's interesting when we pray, it's important to say the words audibly so that we could hear what we're saying. You're not supposed to read like with your eyes, like you read a book. When a Jew prays, you actually are supposed to say the words. Why? Because prayer is the opportunity of creating positive energies. When I pray, when I say words, holy words, words of Psalms, words of Torah, and I actually bring the words into existence, I'm creating energies. So words in Judaism are very powerful. It's an interesting idea. Words in Judaism are not just words. Something is being created. Something you may not see under a microscope, but something's being created with words. That's why it's important when a Jew confesses, when we do teshuvah, we're supposed to confess and hear ourselves say the words. No, we don't confess to the priest. That's a different religion. You don't confess to your rabbi. It's not Judaism. Confess to God, but you actually want to hear it yourself. You want to say the words. You know the joke about the guy who didn't go to confession for many years? And finally he decides to go back. He comes back into the church, and he's feeling nostalgic, and he sees the little booth. He's not really sure how to get in. He opens the door. He goes inside, and unbelievable, he sits down. There's a leather chair. Machaya. He says, this is comfortable. There's a massage controller on the chair. Oh, there's a whole little mini bar. There's a stack of magazines. There's soft classical music. Suddenly he hears the door open. Someone comes in. He says, Father, my, how things have changed over the years. And the priest says, you idiot, you're on the wrong side.
That's better.
Hello, Harris.
Maybe you should stick with the Christian jokes.
So thank you, Harris. This means a lot to me, getting positive feedback, because normally he tells me to stick to being a rabbi, not a comedian.
But you're trying. You're doing better.
Oh, we're going to have, when this is over, Harris, we're going to put together a comedy show. People are going to line up down the block.
We have the guy. Let's just hope that we can do it.
Yes, yes. So this is a little, we're disclosing some information. We're talking to Modi about being the next comedian for Chabad's Comedy Night. So with Harris's help and guidance and inspiration and the people he brings together, we're looking forward to doing it very soon. Anyway, back on topic. What are we talking about? Gossip, yes. So words, from a spiritual perspective, are powerful. They're real. Words are not just empty things. You're actually creating something. When I was a little kid, I remember my Rabbi saying, say the davening words carefully, because every time you say a word, you create a malach, you create an angel. Right? A spiritual energy. What is it? It's an angel. And you want to be surrounded by healthy angels. You know, my Rebbe would tell me, you don't want to be, I was a little kid. He says, you don't want to be surrounded by angels with only one wing, with one, with one arm. You want strong angels that are going to protect you and your family. Anyway, these are cute illustrations, because obviously angels have no form. These are ideas. But words have power. So if I speak negatively about someone from this spiritual perspective, I'm not just saying something bad about them. Actually, an energy is created in that moment, something harmful, something that could hurt another person. When you speak negatively about a person, there's negative energy that comes out and affects that person. So yes, as the Talmud says, evil talk kills 3 people: the speaker, the listener, and the one that it is about. Because something is being created in that experience. However, imagine if we speak positively about people. If I speak positive, words have so much power, and I say something positive to someone. We shouldn't talk about people in general, but and that's a general rule. You have different groups of friends. There's some people you sit with, they love to talk about people. There are people that you talk with, and they love to talk about ideas. They don't like talking about people. It's not good to talk about people. So positive speech, at least to someone. If I go to someone and give them an honest compliment, I lift their spirit, I make their day, I say something kind to them. By using my words, I create energies, and it's very powerful. So just like negative talk has the ability to kill, positive talk has the ability to uplift, to elevate, to make someone's day. I'm sure you have this. I've had it many times where you meet someone, you say something nice, you mean it, but you say something nice, and the person breaks down, starts crying. It's happened to me. Rabbi, you made my day. Words have tremendous power, spiritually, because something real is happening. I'll tell you an interesting story. I was once walked out of my house on Shabbos. I was on my way to shul, and I saw a guy. he was cleaning his Jaguar, the car, Jaguar. And he was shining it, and he looked up at the Orthodox rabbi. He's walking past him, and I gave him, no, I'm sorry, I have to stand corrected. It wasn't on Shabbos, it was on a Sunday morning. I said, such a beautiful day. Look at you, you're cleaning your car. What a great way to connect to this beautiful weather, to the sun, to the God's creation, the sun, the wind, the clouds, the fresh air. I said, isn't this nice? And the guy broke down. He started crying. I kid you not. And I felt like, oh my gosh, what did I say? And he says, Rabbi, I looked at you and I felt guilty. I looked at you and I was sure that when you walked out of your house, the first thing you thought when you saw me cleaning my car is that, look at this guy. All he cares about is his car. He's probably a guy who's into things. He probably is like such a materialistic person. He has to buy such a car. He says, that's what I was thinking you were thinking. And you came out, you gave me this amazing smile. And you gave me this whole thing about connecting to nature and God and a beautiful day and how nice is it. And he says, you should know I don't go to synagogue. I don't pray, but I love God and I'm a very spiritual person. And I always feel that way. And when I wash my car, I'm actually feeling all the things you just described. And it was an interesting experience for me because, really I was just trying to be nice. But you see, like the way people think, what you think, and when you say something positive and you say it with sincerity, you could uplift someone's day. You could change their day. You could change their year. You could change their life. It's unbelievable. So this is the concept of God. Talking negatively spiritually has an effect. Positive words have an effect. Words are something real in Judaism. There's a story we heard. I don't know if Mark is still with us. Mark, you with us? May not be with us on the recording right now on the Zoom, but he shared a very nice story I'd like to share with you. It's an analogy. I don't know if it's a true story. Someone that spent a lot of time their life speaking negatively about people and lashon hara. This person has regrets, realizes the damages that he's caused, the relationships he's broken, and he feels guilty. So he goes, finds the rabbi. He says, I want to repent. I want to do teshuvah. I want to heal my soul from the negative words I've spewed throughout my lifetime. Is there anything I can do? Is there some prayer I could read? Like, what can I do to fix all the negative and all the bad I did with my lashon hara? And the rabbi says, well, there is something that you can do. It's very difficult. He says, Rabbi, I'll do anything. Tell me what to do. He says, no problem. He says, this is what you should do. Do you have a pillow in your house that's, with feathers inside? Like the good old-fashioned pillows. He says, sure, that's my most comfortable pillow. He says, good. Take the pillow, and I want you to go down to the beach, somewhere where there's windy, and take a knife, cut open the pillow, and shake the feathers out of the pillow. The man thinks to himself, wow, that's a little strange, but it must be some ancient Kabbalistic, thing that you do, and it helps heal your soul. So he goes on the beach, and it's a windy day. He opens up the pillow. He shakes out the feathers. Immediately, the feathers are blowing everywhere. They get stuck in trees. They go out into the ocean, in the sand, everywhere in all directions. And as the feathers are flying, he's feeling free, as if something's been lifted off his chest. He was like, wow, this really works, He comes back to the rabbi with the empty pillow sack. He says, Rabbi, I did what you said. So, am I done? And the rabbi says, no. Now, go back and collect every single feather and put it back into the pillowcase. He says, Rabbi, that's impossible. He says, go try. The man goes back. He barely could see a feather there where he dropped them. He finds one, two, a few of them, a handful. He can't find feathers. They're gone. He comes back to the rabbi. He says, I couldn't find the feathers. The rabbi gets serious and looks at him and tells him, now you understand the negative effects of gossip. When you say something bad about someone, whether it's true, and even worse if it's not true, and it goes out there and it starts to spread, it's not in your hands anymore. It's like an arrow. It's flying freely on its own. It's not up to you to even stop it, to control it. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't undo the harmful effects. Unfortunately, you can pray, you can ask for forgiveness. But at the end of the day, once that information's out, it's very, very hard to rectify what was done. The pain, the hurt is still out there. And I'll conclude with one more story about gossip.
Rabbi, before you tell
Yes.
me about gossip.
First of all, I have to introduce you.
Oh,
Welcome, Steve. You are the official bread baker of our synagogue.
thank you.
We make sourdough bread. But go on. Challah.
I couldn't do it without you and Alan. I hope Alan is well. Give him my
I
regards.
just saw him yesterday. Thank God.
From 6 feet away, I hope.
Of course.
If someone thinks something evil, but doesn't speak it, is there an effect?
That's a very good question. There's two. I think there's two questions here. One is thinking evil about negative about someone, lashon hara. That's the first question. And the second question is, if it's not lashon hara, is there anything wrong with that? So I could research this a little more, but I don't believe thinking negatively about someone constitutes lashon hara. Lashon hara is actually saying something. And that's really harmful. But in general, negative thought is not a good thing in general. The Tanya says that the whole book of Tanya, it's a book of Jewish mysticism. It's the Bible of Chabad Hasidic philosophy, and it's based on the following verse: Ki karev elecha adavar miyod beficha vavcha la'asei. For this thing is very close to you in your heart and your mouth, that you may do it. Basically, it says that we're really responsible for all our thoughts, speech, and action. So obviously, action is bad. Today, we're talking about speech being bad and very harmful as well. Speech could be more harmful than action. That's what we said. But even thought should be controlled in general. A person should try to have positive thoughts, think positively about people. We can't control the initial pop up in the brain, something negative. That's the Yetzer Hara. You can't control that. But to dwell on the negative thought, whether it's a depressing thought, whether it's a self-loathing thought, or something negative about someone else, not a good idea. One should do all they can to push that negativity away. Think positive. Thinking positive will make someone feel more positive. You will speak less positive, and you'll definitely do less positive. All the negative in the world actually starts in thought. In fact, when we put on our tefillin, what is the meditation when we put on tefillin? That our mind should control our heart. Our heart should be governed by our mind, meaning our thoughts should be controlled. We should think positive. It's very, very important. But that's another class. We can do that another time. But I thank you for bringing up the question. Here's the final. I thank the people here. Where some people are on Instagram Live. I thank those that are on Instagram with us. Thank you for joining us. My phone is about to die, so I say goodbye, and hopefully you'll join us again. And for those that are with the Zoom, I am not going anywhere. I want to share a story, and then we can conclude. I'll take some questions as well. Story is told about the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement. Anyway, his students once are traveling and they end up in a, in an inn, in a krechma, as they say back in the day. And they sat down, they ordered some food, and before the food is brought out, they call the innkeeper. And these are student rabbis, so they ask a lot of questions. They say, who slaughtered the meat? What's the kosher supervision? They ask them a bunch of questions about his beliefs and in kashrut and his knowledge. The students wanted to make sure that they were eating proper kosher food, so they interrogated the host, and then they sat down to talk. So what do you talk when you're waiting for your food? What happens when you're in the restaurant? Yeah, even if you're a yeshiva student, and we're all human beings, you start to schmooze a little, and you start to talk about people. You heard about Yankel Beryl, you heard about Shmuel David, Shmuel Menachem, whatever, you want to talk about people. Suddenly, they realized someone at the next table was listening, an elderly Jew. He came over, he says, gentlemen, I see that you guys are very careful about the things that go into your mouths. You should be just as careful for the things that come out of your mouth as well. But we have to be extra careful, just like we're careful on what goes into our mouths. We have to be careful what goes out of our mouths. You're so careful about what goes in your mouth. What about what comes out of your mouth? Is the same mouth. So it's an interesting story, and I think it's a nice lesson. Yes, Harris.
My father used to say, nothing gets you in more trouble than your mouth. And he told the story that he was at the bank, I think the old Boardwalk Bank in Atlantic City, and he told off the chairman of the board of the bank, and he didn't get the loan. He says, I could have called him an SOB the next day. Why did I have to do it? So always remember that. You're exactly what you're saying. Your mouth gets you in more trouble than anything. Be careful.
That's a good story.
Yeah,
that's great. Anyway, so my dear friends, to be perfect tomorrow, it's not going to happen. Maybe you, not me. However, hopefully this discussion, we spoke about Harassed, we spoke about Lashon Hara, we spoke about, being careful about what we say, talk less about people, definitely not negative. We can always be better. We may not be perfect, we can always be better. Please God, we should internalize some of these ideas. And the next 24 hours, the next time you talk to someone, try to think about the words you use. Try to think about the language that the words that come out of your mouth. Try to make them positive. Try to make them productive. Try to make them words that build, that unite, that uplift. Try to make them words that heal people and bring people together.
One more thing.
Yes.
On Zoom, you can get 9 screens on one page.
Yeah.
And I flipped. We had 27 people today.
Oh, that's nice.
That's amazing.
That's great. I'm only seeing myself here, but I'm.
Well, I could see there were 27 people at least.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Baruch Hashem, you're a wonderful man. Great words. And can't wait till tomorrow to be nice to somebody.
Thank you, Harris.